Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the 5th annual edition of CINE SPARK, presented by Cinevic Society of Independent Filmmakers. My name is David Geis, Executive Director of Cinevic. Welcome. We've already got some viewers on YouTube. That is great to see. Cinevic acknowledges and respects the long history of the ʷəŋən-speaking people, now known as the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, as well as the ʷəsaanich First Nation, on whose traditional and unceded territory we carry out our activities. The colonial name for this region is Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada, and our headquarters is in the city of Victoria. Cinevic is an artist-run society supporting independent filmmakers and media artists with accessible programming, affordable equipment, professional development resources, and cinematic exhibition opportunities since 1991. Very quick announcement here of just some other programs we currently have running, just because we've got a captive audience here. Push In, the Cinevic podcast, is now listed on Apple Podcasts. Our host, Joyce Klein, speaks to indie filmmakers at home and abroad about their craft. 3 episodes are already available and more are on the way. Just search for Push In, the Cinevic podcast on Apple Podcasts, or go to cinevic.buzzsprout.com. Film Slam, the 48-hour filmmaking challenge, is happening June 11th to 13th in collaboration with the 48 Film Fest, a national short filmmaking challenge spearheaded by Ben Williams and Guy Madden. Filmmakers who register and complete their film within the 48-hour timeline will be screened locally in each participating province and territory. We'll be hosting an online screening for the Victoria entries. And then the top films selected from each region will appear together on the big screen at the TIFF Bell Lightbox in Toronto in 2022. Spots are limited, so sign up now at cinevic.ca and make your film in 48 hours, June 11th to 13th. Short Circuit, of course, is our annual showcase of short films around the Pacific Rim. This year is our biggest festival yet. 50 films streaming on demand until May 31st. Many filmmaker Q&As. If you've missed them, the recordings are still up on YouTube, and we actually still have 5 live ones coming up next week, all the way right up to the 31st. Check out all that info. Get your tickets at shortcircuitfilmfestival.com. What we're all here for, though, is CINE SPARK. CINE SPARK is our annual script pitch production program presented in conjunction with Short Circuit. It awards a production package of cash, equipment, and resources valued at over $17,500 to one filmmaker from Vancouver Island or the Gulf Islands region. Now, normally we hold this event in a theater with a live audience, but this now, of course, is our second time doing it in an entirely different format, online. We just ask for your patience. If there are any technical hiccups along the way, we may need to sort of pause at certain moments and take our time, but we'll also aim to keep things moving along too. But it's pretty slick here, right? We should be fine. Just to note that there isn't really any audience participation tonight. Viewers, feel free to use the YouTube chat. I think you already are. But we probably won't be looking at that too much on our side. It's a bit of a distraction here. But if you want to communicate with all the other viewers out there in TV land, please feel free. And one more note that our Short Circuit Film Awards, of course, will also be presented after all 5 pitchers have done their thing. So once we've completed the pitches, don't leave just yet. After that, stick around at the end for just a 5-minute awards reel. Alrighty, we'd like to give a big shout out to our core funders here at Cinevic and Short Circuit and CINE SPARK, Canada Council for the Arts, BC Arts Council, Province of British Columbia, CRD Arts Service, and Telefilm Canada. Just going to play a short little telefilm video. I think this is a bit loud. Be warned. In 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you, Telefilm. Canadian films, that's what we're doing here, folks. Huge thank you to our CINE SPARK sponsors, William F. White International and Modo Car Share Co-op, and a special deal from Modo exclusively for our lovely viewers interested in car sharing from $4 an hour. Get $50 in free drive time if you sign up with the code CINESPARK. Head to modo.coop and get into car sharing. Awesome. Thanks, Modo, for being a sponsor right from the beginning. Quick note that the 2019 CINE SPARK winning pitch, Lucid, written by Claire Robertson and directed by Deanna Mulligan, is currently available for streaming at Short Circuit in the BC Shorts program We Came From the Straight. So be sure to check that out. Alrighty. Now, enough of me talking. We're going to move on to our actual host for this evening, the wonderful, incomparable current president of Cinevic Society of Independent Filmmakers, Darlene Tate. Hello, Darlene.
Hi, David. Thank you.
I was just going to hand it over to you, but I actually like having us both on the screen here for just 1 second. So
sure.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Awesome. Thanks for hosting again. Wonderful job you did last year. It was so great. We had to have you again.
Well, I've been here before, so I'm really feeling for all our pitchers tonight and wishing them all good luck. I know it can be a little bit of a nervous position to be in, but I know them all. I think they're going to do a great job.
Awesome. All right. I will go away behind the scenes and let you do your thing. Have fun.
Wonderful. Thanks. So in conjunction with acknowledging the 5 individuals who are going to, excuse me, come up and pitch for their projects, I also want to give a shout out to the judges, and I'm going to introduce them a little more extensively in a moment, but their participation is clearly vital to this initiative. So to give you all a little background, Cinevic introduced CineSpark in 2017, and then it was a new program for filmmakers and screenwriters on Vancouver and the Gulf Islands, Vancouver Island and the Gulf Islands. So every year, Cinevic puts out a call for short scripts under 10 pages. And for those of you, after you see how it all unfolds tonight, watch for the next call for submissions this coming fall. The script jury does not know the names of the screenwriters, and they select a top 5 based on creativity and feasibility of production. So you want to watch those downtown car chases and things, because that might drop you down in the ratings. A quick thanks to this year's script jury: Claire Robertson, Deanna Mulligan, and Stephen Sweethel. Thank you all. And here is how tonight is going to unfold. This year's top 5 will pitch their projects to a panel of judges. Each screenwriter will have 5 minutes on a timer to pitch their project, and then they will have another 5 minutes to answer questions from the judging panel. The timer will appear on screen at the start of their pitch, and the countdown will begin once they start to speak. At the end of their 5 minutes, the timer will appear again for the last few seconds of the countdown. And then when it hits 0, the mic gets cut right off. So then we're going to hand things over to our jury for a Q&A with another 5 minutes on the timer. When that timer expires, we again cut the mic, or David cuts the mic. I'm not cutting the mic. David's cutting the mic of whoever is speaking. Then we're going to draw a new name from the hat. Well, actually from the sippy cup, and then move on to the next pitch. The jury will deliberate after the event tonight, and one winner will be announced tomorrow on Cinevic's social media, so watch for that. And although they don't know this yet, I'm also hoping that the winning pitch will join me on Film Friday once they've been notified. The production package at stake tonight is valued at over $17,500, and it includes $1,500 in cash, $13,500 worth of equipment rentals from Cinevic, $2,500 of equipment rentals from one of our sponsors, William F. White International, and a $100 driving credit toward a production van rental from another sponsor, Modo. They will also receive production insurance valued at around $195, and a 1-year complimentary Cinevic production membership valued at $220. The premiere of that finished film will show at the Short Circuit Pacific Rim Film Festival 2022. So they will have not quite a year, because David does require it a little bit in advance, but they're going to have pretty close to a year from being notified to getting their short film into Cinevic. And now I'd like to take a moment to introduce each of the 3 judges. And again, thank you so much, all the judges, for your time. And first up, we have Siu Tan, who is a Singaporean filmmaker based in Los Angeles, and an alumna of Busan's International Film Festival's Asian Film Academy, and a current fellow at the Universal Directors Initiative. Her first feature, Amoeba, awarded the most promising project at Singapore International Film Festival's Film Lab, and the Open Sea Fund awarded at CIFIC Thailand. So thank you for joining us and welcome to see you. Next, we have Maxime Bouchon, who is an award-winning French-Canadian LGBTQ writer, director, and co-owner of Aimer Films.
Films, yes.
Great. Creator of films such as 2018 Crazy Eights finalist Small Fish. In the following year, he is slated to direct a factual series with Out TV, Cross Country Baby, which was chosen for the Netflix Banff Diversity of Voices program and Whistler Film Festival Power Pitch Competition, Irisation. Did I say that one right?
Irisation, it's in French.
Oh, okay. A French-Canadian feature film supported by the Elan program in partnership with Netflix, Telefilm, and more. Thank you, Maxime, for joining us.
Thank you.
And next, we have Kemi Craig. And Kemi is a contemporary analog artist living and working in the traditional Леквəŋən and Wansek territories, an American of African descent raised in Cherokee and Catawba territories. Her work centers on futures for raced and gendered bodies. Working through Super 8, 16mm film, and cell phone video, she couples performance with devices of looking to interrogate the simultaneous experiences of past, present, and future. Kemi served on the CineSpark script jury for the first 4 years of the program. So we're thrilled that you're sticking with us, Kemi.
Thank you for having me.
And now to introduce our 2021 CineSpark Top 5. We're just going to say a quick hello right now, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about them and their film when it comes time for their pitch. First up is Cryptid, written by Ciarán, Volke, Gig Economy. Oh, I'm sorry. Written by, sorry, it really is a fast introduction. Cryptid, written by Ciarán Volke. Next, we have The Gig Economy, written by Sophie Underwood. Then Blood Buddies, written by Suzanne Moreau. The Ottius Campaign, written by Claire Mulligan. And Going Home, written by Nicole Faucher. So congratulations, everybody, for making it this far. And now we'll do a quick tableau of the smiling top 5 for screenshot purposes. So everybody look to your cameras. I'm going to go away for a minute and give us your big smiles, and David's going to grab. All right. I think you must have that, David, because you put me back in the room. So thank you, top 5. You're going back into the green room, and we're going to see you again soon. Okay, so tonight we will be presenting each of our top 5 pictures in random order. The judging panel has read all of the scripts in advance, but to get our audience up to speed, I'm also going to read a bio and short log line when I introduce each picture and their film. Okay, everybody ready? So I am actually not even going to look. You will be the first to know. And Ciarán is up first. So congratulations. I hope you feel like you won there, that you got to go first. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, Ciarán Volke is a filmmaker, performer, and writer currently based on the Леквəŋən and Wansek territories. In his work, he explores life through fabulism, humor, and painstaking honesty. Cryptid, this film follows a recently divorced woman as she balances her troubled relationship with her teenage son and her job as a cryptozoologist. And let me see. Okay, so the timer, as soon as Ciarán begins his pitch, the timer will start 5 minutes, and then the judges will have 5 minutes to ask Ciarán any questions they have. So I guess it's time to take me out, David, and turn it over to Ciarán. Good luck, Ciarán.
All right. So as you heard, my name is Ciarán Volke, and I'm a queer filmmaker based in Victoria. And today I will be pitching my short film, Cryptid, which, as you know, is a story about a recently divorced woman who is madly pursuing a mythical creature that lives in the woods outside of her home, instead of spending time with her jazz enthusiast son, Ethan. Now, officially this is a comedy, but at its core, it's actually about facing deep truths. It's about people who are desperate to be understood, but are ignorant of those who already understand. It's about a family that needs to be brave despite their fears. It's about a family that needs to be wrong in order to be right. In my original script that I submitted, Lisa makes more of an effort to connect with her son, failing only because she doesn't know how to listen. However, in the current draft, her failure comes from her obsession with finding the cryptid. Her house is filled with newspaper clippings, red string, and even conspiracy theories. In both a literal and metaphorical sense, she leaves no room for a relationship with her son. The cryptid fills a void in her heart, a way for her to deny her pain and to live mythologically. For Lisa, it's about her guilt. Guilt in ruining her marriage, and guilt in being a bad parent. In turn, Ethan, who is very awkward and very sad, tries to communicate with her with the only language that he knows, jazz. He is an alien inside his own home, a cryptid. In the original script, it is revealed after a very lousy jazz recital that Ethan is gay. However, this isn't a coming out story. Rather, it is about queering family dynamics or shifting expectations of love. In the current revision, it's made very clear that Ethan is gay. His needs from that point on is to find a lost parent after suffering a major trauma. And it then becomes Lisa's responsibility to accept that love if she chooses. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the titular cryptid. What is it? What does it look like? Well, our intentions are to build a huge puppet that seems to come from a drag queen's fever dream. And I have a picture of it, or kind of like a concept here. Imagine something like Where the Wild Things Are, or Cousin It, or something from The Legend of Zelda. It's very scary, it's very tangible, and it's a little queer. It symbolizes the unknown outside and the unknown that exists when truth remains elusive. When Lisa confronts the cryptid, she asks, "What are you?" In turn, the cryptid says, "What are you?" for the very real, tangible people in her life. Now, I've teamed up with several different people, including director and MFA candidate James Weicker. He's an accomplished and award-winning filmmaker, along with Justin Francis Lee as producer. Him and I actually co-produced The Apartment of Writing, which is a platform that showcases short films that are very candid and intimate. I've also recruited Ariel Parsons as a designer to help construct the puppet, because that is a huge undertaking and obviously very important. Now, at the very end of the initial draft, there is an implication that Lisa and Ethan have had this very important discussion, that they have grown as a family and that they love each other very much and it's all happy, wonderful. That's great, but I think that it's important that we see them have this discussion, that we see them sit through their pain, because it's so easy to say that things will get better. They will, and they do, but only first if you go through the hard stuff. The cryptid may spur Lisa to achieve her fate, to amount to some sort of change in her family, but it's up to her to make that choice. I want the audience to sit in that discomfort. I want the people watching this film to see these people share their pain and go through great pain in order to find and learn great love. Because it isn't an easy process, but it's easier than finding Bigfoot. This is why I believe that Cryptid is an important film and worthy of being chosen. Thank you. Oh, there we go. Here's the Cryptid, in case you're curious.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ciarán. And now we're going to keep Ciarán up, and we're going to bring our judges back. And David will once again set the timer. So as soon as somebody begins to ask the first question, the timer will begin. We also don't want you to feel obligated to fill the entire 5 minutes, but just ask whatever questions of this filmmaker you feel are important in your judging decision. And that's all you need. It's just that a maximum 5 minutes is what is allowed. But again, you do not have to take the entire time. And with that, David will back me out of the process again, and we will leave it to all of you.
Oh, is the timer waiting for us? Okay. I see how it goes. I just wanted, before I ask full questions about the story, I just wanted a clarification. So the Cryptid is a puppet.
Yes.
And is it life size, like the size of the mom and the kid?
Yeah, I imagine it being quite big.
So it's a life-size puppet. It's not like a mascot suit you jump
No.
into.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted a clarification. I'll just write this down, and then I'll let my other two, Jerry, ask the first few questions.
I wouldn't mind asking a question. First of all, like, I really appreciate your approach to both the approach and the visual of the Cryptid. And I think my question is, how will you convey some of the other, like, more theoretical things that you discuss? Because it seems like it's important for the audience to, for this to be an experiential film. And so some of the words that you spoke about, like obsession and a sense of void and guilt, but guilt in a backstory. I'm just curious about, like, how you'll convey those visually.
Yeah. I have a very almost vivid image of her house and a sort of frenzy and sort of a frantic way that she goes about her quote unquote research, the way that she searches for this creature. It almost consumes her. She loses sleep. In the current revision, there's a scene where Ethan actually ends up making breakfast for her and waits for her to wake up, but she doesn't wake up because she's been out all night looking. She is so wrapped up in this idea. We even see glimpses, not a dream sequence, but just sequences of her trying to find it, film footage. And you can tell that she is almost in love. I think an important thing that I maybe didn't discuss is that there's a sort of erotic quality with the Cryptid. She, has lost this partner from before, and not that she is expecting the Cryptid to kind of fulfill those needs, but there's a sort of love and almost lust aspect to it. So a lot in the sort of presentation of her literal space, as well as in her sort of energy in trying to find it. She is constantly, almost as if throughout the whole film, her inner child comes out, searching for this thing. She becomes the child, and Ethan becomes the parent in this sense. And so she is constantly at the whims of this thing, this creature, this Cryptid.
Excellent, thank you.
I can ask a question. I think my questions were more to do with the Cryptid. Like, I think I'm just thinking of it in like both a production and like execution and also like what it means kind of thing. Like, so I'm trying to imagine it's life size and it's a puppet. is it something that Ethan can see? Does he take any interest in it? Like, do other people see the cryptid, or is it just like something in the imagination? Like, is it meant to be realistic in a way, or more like surreal?
The way I think of it is, you know, it is something, it is a local legend, kind of like the Loch Ness or, you know, Bigfoot or something like that. But I think that the way that it manifests itself, at least for Lisa, is that there is that question of, oh, is she, how much of this is the actual literal thing? And how much of this is her, you know, her feelings, her emotions bringing this out? It's supposed to be this unknown entity that even when you see it, you're still not sure if this is real. And for Ethan, you know, whether or not he sees it, it's not important for him, because it is the kind of unknown that is not worth his time. And the reason why I bring up his love of jazz is, you know, there is a sort of, I don't know if you've played jazz music or listened, or, you know, been a part of that, but I feel like there's a sort of unknown in the improvisation, and there's an improvisation in the conversation between he and his mother. And that is a sort of unknown that he's focused on. So I hope that answered. Sorry.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. I imagine that 10 minutes went by fairly quickly, Ciarán. So now we are, unless David tells me otherwise, I think we're going to move on to the next individual who will be pitching. So we're going to give this a shake up. Again, you're going to see before I do. Suzanne Moreau, you are up. Hi, Suzanne.
Hello. Hi, Darlene.
Okay, so I think momentarily here, David is going to back me out. The minute you begin to speak, your timer will start, and then we will bring in the judges to have them have their 5 minutes worth of questions. So good luck, Suzanne.
Just a quick intro of Suzanne with her bio and synopsis. That's all. That's okay.
Okay, I need to get into a routine here. Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
And Suzanne Moreau, an active part of our film community here, says that screenwriting and filmmaking is her second career, a creative one. She draws from decades of public service and social research on gender equity, education, and criminal and community justice. She seeks truth in storytelling and brings a visual aesthetic to filmmaking from her degree in visual art. Suzanne's script is called Blood Buddies. It is about a shy preteen anxiously feeling her bestie abandoning her on the bus ride to crafts camp. Already sad that she didn't get her pick of craft classes, her tummy aches sharply, and she's on a bewilderingly intense emotional roller coaster. Then a few uncanny coincidences open up new possibilities. Okay, and with that, now David will back me out and start the timer. And apologies, Suzanne, and good luck. And it's all yours now.
Well, screenwriting and filmmaking have become my new creative passion. I'm very grateful for Cinevic's incubator program, where I first learned filmmaking from expert mentors in 2019-20. As the writer and director, I'll focus on the story for now. Blood Buddies suggests a gory ritual. It's not a horror flick, but it is about a scary time. What's scarier than being 12 years old on a hot school bus full of sweaty teen campers? Your nausea and gut cramps are getting severe, and there's no bathroom. Then your only friend and BFF cuts you loose, sending you on a tilt-a-whirl of anxiety and dread. To top it off, a stranger points out there's blood on your backside. So it takes you just a minute to realize, oh, it's your first period. Huh. But your worst fear, it's not about the pain, the blood, or the intense feels. Nope, it's about shame, literally embarrassment. Yep, puberty is not for the faint of heart. So even mentioning a girl's first period makes some people blush. But Blood Buddies aspires to strip away the shame. This bittersweet drama is dotted with comic relief, yet it takes a sensitive approach with themes of awakening awareness and acceptance of one's true self. Let me set the tone. Our hero, Eva, is a shy, geeky 12-year-old who struggles with self-worth as her childhood blood buddy Sal inexplicably abandons her. Pretty in pink, popular Sal, also 12, is eager to grow up fast, so she discards the immature Eva by acting the mean girl. Megan, a friendly 14-year-old, is Sal's new conquest, but she becomes a go-between. Her help is a balm to Eva and a bane to Sal. A sympathetic 14-year-old, also named Eva, consoles their jilted name twin and, through kismet, becomes her new blood buddy. My artistic vision for this film is its contrasts. A whimsical vibe like Forrest Gump, a tone like Stand By Me, and a message like Mean Girls. Remember the opening sequence of the falling feather in Forrest Gump? Imagine you're flying above a bumblebee that's following a golden school bus through an evergreen forest split by a steely ribbon of road alongside a dazzling azure lake. The bee descends and lands on the window where young Eva's face is squashed against the glass in discomfort. Contrasts and juxtapositions. Tweens wearing sun-bleached jewel tones will pop against the dull bus interior and evoke a full spectrum of wildflowers in an open, grassy field. This idealism and beauty is tainted with the destructive behavior of the mean girl. The bittersweet tone matches the emotional roller coaster of puberty. Eva absorbs the rejection, then discovers her power. At the end, I want the audience to feel Eva's sense of loss and mourning blended with exhilaration and optimism. So what's unique about this story? Typically, lead characters are extroverts who command attention. Introverts, like our shy Eva and myself, are rarely written as leads. Naturally quiet, they're hard to comprehend and often overlooked. This film will amplify their voices so they're seen and heard and at the center of this story. And they'll see it's okay to be different. Others will see themselves in the diverse and inclusive cast because tweens of all ethnicities, personalities, and gender expressions need to see themselves in film. Our characters are any ethnicity, but they're culturally Canadian. I'll intentionally cast actors to reflect Canada's diversity. So why this story now? Because it's rarely told. It's a universally female story and a significant rite of passage. Told in film, it's accessible to a broad range of learning styles, and on-screen entertainment carries considerable weight with tweens. It's not a sex ed film. It's entertainment with relevant storytelling about self-esteem and relationships. It could help girls and their parents navigate puberty by dispelling confusion and offering comfort, stimulating critical thinking and conversations about expectations to fit the norm, and encouraging a sense of celebration and belonging. I'm confident this film is feasible and affordable. It can be shot COVID safely and efficiently in 3 days with a small cast in a ventilated bus and an outdoor field. Plus, I have a stellar, diverse team: Mia Golden, Anna Delara, Michael Corrigan, Susan Coe, Kelly Condon, Brian Globus, Sonia Chul, Wendy Vincer, Trent Peake, and more Cinevic members. Thank you, Short Circuit Pacific Rim jury, for your endorsement of Blood Buddies.
Wonderful. Thank you, Suzanne. And now we are going to bring our jury back in, And again, David will start the clock. So judges, you have 5 minutes to ask Suzanne whatever it is you need to know.
I can start if that's the case. So I noticed, I will be fully honest, I got a little confused with all the names in the middle with the story. Who's the mean girl? Who intimidates who? But to me, the importance of the story is about this young introverted girl having her period for the first time, going to summer camp. That's what I should take out of it mostly. And you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I wanted to ask you a question is, you speak in a very poetic way, and I was wondering if you said you were going to be the director as well.
Yes.
Is that poetry going to be seen in the visuals as well?
Yes, I believe it will. I have a fantastic director of photography, Kelly Conlon, and she and I have already discussed some of the visuals. We've talked about color palette, we talked about significance of different aspects. And yeah, so I tried to paint some visual pictures for you because I'm not adept at showing slides or something on a presentation like this. But, you know, the colors will be emeralds, greens, and they'll be beautiful jewel tones. And they'll evoke happiness and sunshine and optimism. But underlying that, there will be this undertone of the antagonism that's coming from this, her very best friend who she's been with for like her whole life up to that point. And so it's this poor girl Eva is undergoing this change. She isn't quite cluing into what it is at first. It's making her act weird, and her best friend is kind of separating from her because she doesn't get her anymore and she doesn't want to be associated with this nerdy weird kid. So she's growing up faster and there's a disparity. And then the other Eva, who has the same name, and there's a whole bunch of other coincidences that I didn't touch on, swoops in to help, but you know, in a very not a sort of a rescuing way, but a very supportive way in order to help her navigate this change and this emotional upheaval.
Yeah, I had a question, just a quick one. Kind of jumping off Maxime, I was curious how, because the whole thing is, not the whole thing, most of it is going to be on a bus. How are you planning to make that cinematic? I know, you know, you talked about the face squish on the wall and stuff, and also I guess related to that, it's like, it seems like you're talking about the visuals in a way that it's like pretty like sun and greens and stuff. How are you going to show the antagonism and like the conflict underneath, because she's an introvert and she doesn't express that much, you know? Thank you.
Yes, well, the bus will be shot aerially in the beginning. That's the only time you'll see it really moving. And then we will perhaps have a motion shot where the bee lands on the window, but there's a lot that can be done in post for the special effects. But really all of the conversations that are happening on the bus happen when the bus is parked, because there would be issues with sound and with visual continuity with the things passing the window. So that's happening there. But yes, the expressions and the acting is going to convey a lot of the emotional trauma. And for that reason, I'll have to be very, very careful about how I cast this. And I'm hoping to cast a wide diversity of, you know, representative girls. They're not all going to be the pretty in pink. There will be one pretty in pink, but they will not necessarily all look the same. But hopefully fill the viewer's expectation of what that particular person might be like. And I've also, I'm contemplating, and I'd be delighted if I could find somebody who was, had a gender expression other than just straight female among the cast. And that would be a wonderful addition to the cast as well, to be more inclusive and generate a more diverse and relevant audience.
I think if there's time, I'm just curious around, I'm hearing a little bit about your experience doing the incubator project, and that so much of this film is going to rely on the performances. And I'm just curious as a director how you'll pull these performances out.
I have some wonderful people on my crew who are specialists with children and child actors. So I'm really lucky to have Mia Golden and Sonia Chul and Susan Coe. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Suzanne, and thank you, judges. So now we are going to move on to our next pitch person, right, David? I think that's what I'm doing here.
Yes, yes, you're doing great. Everybody's doing great.
Here we go. David's done a great job of organizing me, and I've done a less good job of being organizable. Okay, so here we go. And let me see who's coming up next. Claire. Okay, now I do remember that my job now is to introduce Claire and her screenplay. Okay, hi Claire.
Hi.
Claire Mulligan is an award-winning novelist and short fiction writer, as well as an editor and creative writing instructor. In 2017, she earned a master's degree in screenwriting with an eye towards film adaptation. In 2019, her first short film screened across North America and won numerous awards. And the screenplay being pitched this evening is entitled The Ottius Campaign. Renee helps her estranged mother, a once notorious eco-warrior, in her final stunt, chaining herself outside an aquarium until Ottius, the sea otter, is freed. But Renee's old hurts cause the stunt to go awry in this comedy drama short, The Ottius Campaign, inspired by a Shayna Lambert story. Okay. And with that, David's backing me out again. So Claire, the minute you speak, the clock will begin to count down, and then we'll bring your jury back.
Hello, I'm Claire Mulligan. I live and work on the traditional territories of the ʷəŋən peoples, and my pitch is for the Ottius Campaign. And it is indeed inspired by a short story by the fabulous short story writer Shayna Lambert. It has since morphed into something quite a bit different, and it has been a great joy to write. I'll reiterate the synopsis a little bit. This is so we start at the dead of night, and Renee Chastain is reluctantly helping her estranged mother Marie, a once notorious eco-warrior, in her final stunt to chain herself outside a tawdry wayside aquarium to force the freeing of their star captive, Ottius the sea otter. The plan is complicated, however, by Renee's old resentments. We learn through their dialogue that Marie left her studious daughter while she was sailing off on the high seas, rescuing all kinds of animals, and with her loyal entourage of young folks in tow. Renee leaves her mother there, helps her out, and then returns to Marie's cramped apartment. What she finds there forces her to a decision. In the morning, a small film crew is reporting outside the aquarium that Ottius, the sea otter, has actually escaped. No one notices the gobsmacked Marie. As Renee plays dumb, Marie wrestles with a lifetime of choices. Good for Ottius, Marie finally says, and then decides to stay chained a little longer while they eat cheap pizza together, almost like a regular mother and daughter. Meanwhile, on the shore, a delighted boy glimpses Ottius swimming free. When he looks again, only the quiet sea remains. The Ottius Campaign poses a thematic question that will resonate, I believe, with all viewers, and certainly does with my own self. And it's one of the reasons I was drawn to this story and script. That is, at what cost do we sacrifice our personal lives and our relationships for our work life and our passions, right? In the Ottius Campaign, Marie chooses saving the oceans over her own daughter. This is a thorny moral question, and one that Ottius explores but allows the viewers to interpret for themselves. Tone to me is a very crucial consideration. Ottius uses irony and black humor to highlight the dramatic conflict not only between Renee and Marie, but also between humanity and our poor and battled planet, whose creatures like Ottius were often reduced to these sort of tawdry and tragic sideshows. For the team, let's see here. If you can see here, for my team, I have Arnold Lim. He's an award-winning director, producer, and photojournalist. Arnold recently won Telefilm's Talent to Watch grant 2 years in a row. His films have screened internationally at the Toronto Film Festival and others, and he has juried for the Victoria Film Festival as well as the Vancouver's Asian Film Festival. A key production assistant will be my partner, Doug Young, who is the Esquimalt Harbor Master and can assist in securing locations and with marine safety amongst other tasks. We will make the utmost use of our stunning local locations to convey theme, tone, and story progression. And to that end, I'm going to attempt a little slideshow here. I'm going to move the right.
I just want to jump in quickly and make sure that you want to be muted, Claire. You are muted, and I just want to make sure that is correct.
All right, sorry, people. Can we start again? I don't know. All right, well. Well, I can't really, seeing I was muted for most of my pitch there, I don't know what I can do.
Sorry, Claire, at first I figured you wanted it muted, but it was...
I'm sorry, I didn't know it was muted on my end.
I think it was, let's see here, Darlene. All right, any thoughts? I mean, if it was, I'd say it was probably about 20 seconds.
It was muted, Claire, from the time you turned around and brought your other computer into the visual. It was that moment that something happened and you went on mute.
That's weird, I didn't touch anything. Well, okay, sorry about that. I guess we heard most of it. I was going to, showing the slideshows to get an idea of where we're going to be shooting the locations and things like that, so.
Well, perhaps when we bring the judges in, if you've got a 5-minute block there, maybe if you can be really fast with that, if you feel that's an important part of your pitch, maybe you can take that time up. And that's just a suggestion. You need to do whatever you feel is right for your pitch presentation.
Okay, thanks.
So I think with that, then we're going to bring our judges back. One of the judges also brought it to the attention, I think, in the discussion panel on the side that you were muted. So I don't think we missed too much of it. I think it was, like I said, just when you turned around to begin to show some visuals. So I'm going to leave it up to you whether you want to go straight into discussion with judges, Claire, or if you want to take 30 seconds or a minute or whatever to show what you were muted on. And I'll leave it up to you to make that decision.
Okay, well, I guess it's up to the judges too. I mean, I have several locations that I'm going to use. The Esquimalt Causeway, which, as I was saying, has this sort of.
Okay, well, I think we need to.
I just wanted to make sure that's part of the time. Yeah. So I muted you again, Claire. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there tends to be a bit of silent time in the jury's 5 minutes anyway. So if you want to not have any silent time and basically, try to run through what you were showing on I think it was probably 3 slides that you missed. Anyway, okay, I'll bring you back in and do the timer.
Yeah, I'll leave it to the judges if they want to ask whatever they'd like to ask.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So David's going to back me out. So I just recommend you reach a decision really fast because this 5 minutes is going to go by quickly. So I think you collectively need to decide right away.
I'm okay to see the slides.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it will be part of the 5 minutes. So if everybody wants to see those slides, Claire, I recommend then that David's going to back me out. The minute you start talking again, that timer will start.
Keyboard.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, this is what we do. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is where the opening shot will be. This is the Esquimalt Causeway. I wanted to show their strange relationship by showing them going down, or lagoon on one side, the sea on the other. That's their logo. We would have these there's these amazing sculptures there. I wanted to have these looming in the headlights. A lot of them have sort of a childish tone to them, rather sinister. I'd like to film them going to the marina along the Songhees walkway. At nighttime, there's this fabulous lighting there. It creates a sort of lurid sensibility. These are some of the walkways we have. They sort of almost have a fairy tale menace to them, winding little pathways through there. We will quickly, however, get them to the Sailors Cove Marina, which will hopefully be the spot for the exterior of the Swell Waters Aquarium. And then this will be sort of the sign we're going to look at. We'll be over here. Marie will be over here. The last shot, we all wanted to do a very wide open beach shot, lots of sun and everything. And this would be for the little boy when he sees this. It'll evoke sort of hope and renewal. And maybe even a shot of a sea otter, if we can find one. Thanks. That is it. My apologies again for that.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Kemi, do you want to go first? You got cut off on the last pitch, on your last question.
Oh no, it's okay. I'm still formulating my question, please.
Okay, my questions are mostly feasibility, so hopefully it'll be quick. So you mentioned about 6 different locations. Are these all locked? Do you know all these friends, or you're planning to fit them in your $1,500 budget for permits and all of that?
Well, there's really only the 2 locations. It's the Esquimalt Lagoon, which has beaches and everything else right there, and then the Songhees Walkway. And the walkway where I'd like to do is a very short section of it, and then it opens up onto that marina. So it's really only 2 locations, very short. Yeah, and getting permits and things, yeah, that'll be something we'll have to look into. If we can't use those locations, there's a couple of other ones I have in mind. Those would be ideal, right?
Okay.
But, yeah. So I thought about that. I live nearby these places, and there's lots of parking, lots of open spaces. Esquimalt's a little more loosey-goosey too than Victoria, so you can sort of it's easy to get permits for things, put it that way, right? You want to build a condo, build it here, right? So
I was wondering if you could elaborate also on the support, the team and the support that you have in making this project.
Yeah.
I know Arnold Lim's experience, but maybe if you could speak to some of the other.
I don't have a big team right now. If I get the funding, I would gather the team. Yeah, I have a lot of people who I've talked to who have been, interested and are willing to throw themselves into it. And, but yeah, at this point, I'm sort of thinking of a few people I'd like to approach if and when I'm able to make the film.
Thank you.
I was curious about your casting. Did you have people in mind, or can you just maybe describe what you're looking for?
Yeah, it would be, so the mother and daughter, you want that sort of interesting dynamic of sort of who can play to the humor, but also to the pathos of the story. In the script, they are French. She is French-Canadian, Marie. It doesn't have to stay that way, but I rather like it because I like that from what I've observed is that often the children will speak English back to their French-Canadian parents until the point where when they shift, it shows they're connecting, right? They're conceding in a way, right? Okay, fine, we'll speak French, right? So I think that just adds a nice little layer to it. I think it adds, it's part of the Canadian experience, I think. So that's why I wanted to do that. Yeah. Sorry. Maxime, I think you're...
Sorry. I was curious if, are you French Canadian, or do you have somebody that is French Canadian that is on the project to help you with dialogues and all of that?
I'm not French Canadian. I do have someone who speaks French fluently. So Doug speaks French, so he can help me with that. Again, it might be that if we find a great actor and they're not French Canadian, we would go with that. However, I would like to look for a French Canadian actor, and they could then hopefully supply us with the dialogue, right? So that'll be a challenge, but I'd like to do that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all. And thank you, Claire. Now, David is going to put everybody back into the green room, and we are going to draw our final name, but not our final pitch person, because when I draw the final name or the next name, we will know the order of the remaining two. So I think that's all I have to do. Okay, here we go. Now, who's this going to be? And Sarah Nicole, you are up. And of course, that means that Sophie will be our final pitch presenter. So Sarah Nicole, just let me introduce you here. For those of you who don't know, Sarah Nicole Faucher is a writer, poet, artist, and costumer. Some of her works reflect issues and experiences as a woman born with a disability, sometimes with surprising intensity. She lives in Victoria, BC with her husband and 2 cats. Her screenplay, Going Home. Stephanie helps an unemployed, homeless, hearing-impaired friend return to family safely. Later, Stephanie finds out that when her friend returned home, she committed suicide. This is based on a true story. And with that, Sarah, your time is going to begin the moment you start speaking, and David's going to pull me out, and best of luck to you.
I'm Sarah Nicole Faucher, the hard of hearing writer of Going Home, who is passionate about this project. I'm going to start by describing my short narrative, which is based on a true story. With her art portfolio in hand, Stephanie, who is hard of hearing, pounds the pavement on a downtown street. With a jingle, she drops coins into a panhandler's can. Surprise, she recognizes this panhandler as her hard of hearing film crew friend, Emma. Because it begins to rain, Stephanie offers Emma tea and a bite to eat in a local shop to catch up on news with her down and out friend. No sooner than the two settle in a secluded corner of the shop, Emma dumps her long, sad story of hardship and problems about keeping her position because of her inability to hear properly on walkie-talkies on set to Stephanie. In doing so, she confides that her parents have tickets waiting for her at the airport for a flight in the early morning. Because of bus schedule conflicts, Stephanie offers to help Emma get to the airport the day before so she can make it to her flight in time to Prince Rupert. At the airport, they say their goodbyes with promises of writing to each other. However, just as they go their separate ways, Stephanie feels foreboding. 1.5 months later, Stephanie receives a card with her own unopened letter inside and a note from Emma's parents. She collapses to her knees in shock and tears. For fans of autobiographies and human rights stories, Going Home is a true drama following an educated disabled woman and her disabled friend with a disturbing dark ending that reveals the shocking and relevant difficulties disabled persons still encounter even to this day. Hailing from the 1980s, this tale invites the audience into a deeper understanding of the conflicts within a country with one of the lowest Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD, ratings within the UN today. Canada rates lower than the USA, Ireland, the UK, France, Belgium, and many other countries in the world in assistance for their own disabled persons in employment and housing. Wrongly hailed as a wonder in the media, the Canada Accessibility Act was passed in 2019 with one major hideous flaw. Accessibility won't be enforced until 2040. The UN has consistently condemned Canada in the past 3 decades for these ratings, with its constant breaking off of its own human rights regulations in accessibility for buildings, education, employment, medical treatment, and sunk its lowest in 2021 with its passing of MAID, Medical Assistance in Dying, which the UN considers a human rights disaster. It is far easier for a disabled person to obtain MAID than it is to obtain accessibility to shelter, to education, employment, and medical treatment. This is why Krista Lawton has come on board for this project, because she is doing a documentary about a homeless deaf person at the moment, who will be one of the actors in Going Home for Authenticity. This unproduced script, Going Home, has been nominated and won awards in 4 different film festivals. This prompted me to try the CINE SPARK to get it off the ground locally. The director for Going Home will be former Cinevic president and producer of the award-winning film In the End, Trent Peake, who will call on the island community to make this writer's vision a reality. The producer is Krista Lawton, who is the filmmaker of the well-known and heart-stirring Us and Them documentary about homeless people. She is in the process of doing another documentary about one of the homeless people in Victoria who is also deaf. And I am the hard of hearing writer of Going Home. Thank you kindly for considering the script for the CINE SPARK, and to the judges for listening to this pitch.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah Nicole. And I can't tell if I'm, oh, there I am. Thank you, Sarah Nicole. Now, if we could please bring our judges back. And again, I think you all know by now, the moment one of you ask a question, we'll start the timer. And with that, I will back out and leave it to you with 5 minutes. Thank you.
I have a question to start. It's apparent how tender this story is to you, and how close to the surface this story is, and also an important story. And I'm curious, as a writer, and then you have Trent as the director, how in the direction, like, I think what I'm trying to get at is how the kind of like the emotions that I so clearly see with you will translate to the director that might have a different relationship, like in terms of directing the actors and bringing that out in the film. Because when you speak about it and the writing, it's so powerful. And I am curious, like, how you see that powerful story coming across.
I hope Trent forgives me, but he does have a nephew who is autistic. So he basically knows a lot about disabled people. He also knows me. And right now I'm working on a film with him, but I'm a costumer. Goodness gracious. Basically, there's a certain understanding there that we basically share. That's a good question. Thank you, Kimmy.
Thank you.
I wanted to know, you mentioned it very quickly, so I just wanted clarification. You mentioned is it set in the 80s, or the story happened in the 80s?
Well, basically, the story did happen in the 80s. That is something that will be for me and the director, as well as the producer, to discuss. If it has to be in the 80s, then I, as a costumer, could actually try to give suggestions. And I still have some clothes from the 80s too. So I might have to alter some of them, but you know, for some of the actors, for one of the actors, but it'll be okay. We'll manage with that one.
Yeah, it's a very personal and moving story. I can feel how connected you are to what you're writing. I just had a thought. I guess Trent is going to be directing it, but maybe you can speak to it. I think the moment where I realized that she's hard of hearing was a powerful moment for me, and I'm wondering how you're gonna review this, you know, because like the first part of it, you're just wondering, is a woman, she's on the streets, she sees a friend, like how are you gonna make that moment powerful? And then after that, it's like a lot of dialogue scenes, which sometimes can be a little bit not cinematic. So yeah, can you speak to that scene?
Well, right now we do have one actor who is an actual homeless deaf person, but my idea, as well as Krista's idea, is to go to the Island Deaf and Hard of Hearing Center here in Victoria, and we will try to have an audition with anyone who's interested, and hopefully younger than the homeless person, because that's the situation that I was in. I was actually much younger than my friend at that time. And we're trying to make it as authentic as possible, basically. I do know of a casting director who is actually hard of hearing herself. She's on the mainland, and she might assist us, but I haven't spoken to her about that project yet. That's a good question, too. Thank you, by the way.
Thank you for
all.
sharing that story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Boy, this evening is moving very quickly. Holy cow. Okay. Well, I guess we're done with the drawing. So coming up as our final presenter this evening will be Sophie Underwood. Okay. So let me do the introductions for everybody who's watching, and thanks to all of our participants on the chat. It's great fun to read everything that you have to say. So moving along, Sophie Underwood is a writer, actor, puppeteer, and all-around fun-haver from Victoria, BC. Sophie has worked on a number of film and television projects in development and production, and her plays have been staged by several theater companies. She holds a BFA with distinction in creative writing and theater. Sophie's script is called Gig Economy. Adriana, a dejected children's entertainer, navigates a few spectacularly bad days with only a sentient puppet for company. So with that, we are going to bring up the clock. I'm going to say goodbye, and we are going to have Sophie Underwood step up. Good luck, Sophie.
Sophie! Sophie! Well, whoops, this is a little awkward, but I'm Roger. I'm her co-creator. In fact, this whole thing was my idea. She doesn't have a single original idea in her head, to be honest. Excuse me. Hi. Sorry. I'm Sophie, and I'm the writer of Gig Economy, which is a short film that explores identity,
isolation, and the struggle of being a young person or a person at all in late-stage capitalism. We begin with Adriana, a 20-something-year-old children's performer who is bombing at a children's birthday party. And I don't know if any of you have ever been heckled by a crowd of children, but personally I have, and it sucks. And we soon see that the rest of Adriana's life isn't going particularly well either. She's drowning in student debt, living with a roommate who's constantly bickering with her girlfriend, and just resorting to increasingly desperate measures to try and make ends meet. Her only friend, and he's not even a particularly good friend to be honest, is her puppet, Roger. Here's where the film takes on an edge of magic realism. It's unspecified if Roger is a figment of her imagination, a coping device, or an actual magical being. But whatever he is certainly funny, surreal, and a bit of an asshole. With the guidance and support of her fuzzy friend, Adriana finally begins to make some changes that she really needs to make. But are they the right ones? It's funny, unsettling, and eventually uplifting. The film is about the relationship between a young woman and a puppet, but really about a young woman and herself. So I think this script is quite unique, it's exciting, and it's really logistically feasible. There's minimal locations, simple setups, a limited amount of actors, and even within that, I think there's some really fun and exciting opportunities for directing and design inside this sort of magic realism world that we're creating. It's a story that's about current times in a way that's entertaining, but still relatable to many people trying to make ends meet today. I personally know lots of people resorting to increasingly ridiculous ways to make money in this gig economy that just cares nothing about any of its workers. It's also really important to me that this is a female-led project. All the main actors in it will be women-identifying people. Two of the main characters are queer women. And it's also a female-led team. So speaking of teams, so I'm the writer. As was mentioned, I have a degree in writing and theater. I've produced a number of plays that I've written around the city, and I also spent 2 years writing and developing full-time for Less Bland Productions. I wrote and developed pitches and scripts for TV shows, movies, documentaries, 3 of which were lucky enough to go into production, and many more which received CMF development funding. I'm also obviously a children's puppeteer, which is kind of my other facet, and I've been really looking for a way to combine these 2 artistic areas and create something that really showcases my voice as an artist, especially at this early stage in my career. I'm really excited to add Jacqueline Plan to my team. Jacqueline is a producer who recently produced the 28-minute short Bottleneck, which was produced last year and has gone on to show in festivals across the country and won numerous awards. And Jacqueline is extremely talented, driven, organized, and kept a short film running throughout the shooting and post-production process during a pandemic, which I really respect. I'm also really excited to add Michael Makaroff to my team. He works with Cludak, and we actually went to high school together, so I'm excited to work together as adults. They produced a number of video content from promotional materials, commercial materials, music videos, and their most recent short, Clay Pots, has actually just been sent out all around the country, which is really exciting. So we're a team of up-and-coming, excited artists. We're all under 30. For instance, I'm 25 today, actually. It's my birthday, so let that influence you however it will. And our team is just made up of young, hungry, excited artists who have the experience and means to get this done, and for whom this will mean a lot for all of our emerging careers. And Roger is just here for emotional support.
Okay, thank you, Sophie. Now, judges, you're up for the final judging segment of this evening. So thank you once again. And
someone at the door.
Huh?
Sorry.
Oh,
sorry. Someone started knocking on my door. I'm sorry. I thought I was still muted.
Okay, I thought I had done something wrong.
Sorry, shared living. Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to start the clock again. And judges, you now have 5 minutes with which to question Sophie about anything you need to know to be able to make your decision. So, David, time to say goodbye and let the fun begin.
I could start us off. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the arc of the character. So you mentioned in your log line that as she deals with being late in capitalism. So I didn't fully understand what she's actually dealing with, like specifically. So could you tell us a bit more about where she starts and where she ends in the story emotionally?
Yeah, for sure. I think at the beginning, we start with her in a place where she's not being fulfilled artistically. She's not being fulfilled financially. She's not able to make ends meet. She's in a sort of group living situation that isn't fulfilling. And she's not really addressing any of these issues. And she's not really making any active steps to change it. The only thing that's nudging her along to try and make any sort of change or progression is her puppet, who she is mainly ignoring. And I think it's changed in later stages of the script, which I know you haven't seen. But I think that throughout the film now, she comes to terms with that she needs to begin making changes. She becomes more assertive. She stops relying on her puppet making decisions for her, and she starts having some agency within herself. And it still ends in a spot where it's not particularly super happy. Everything is easy and concluded. She knows exactly what she's going to do. Ending, I think that right now the ending more sits at a place where she's realized that this right now isn't healthy for her, and she's leaving it, even though she doesn't know exactly what she's going to, which is, always part of the fear of making big changes, particularly when you're sort of young and unsettled and don't really have a good foundation or support network. So I think that her arc throughout the film is coming to realize that she does have the agency to make these changes. She doesn't need to rely on her sort of puppet crutch, and that at the end she starts making them, and she's not sure if they're the right ones, but at least it's a step forward.
Thank you. Could you also speak a little bit to why you feel that it's important to use a team? Like you mentioned, like there are definitely some themes within the work that talk about experiences of feminine identified folk and entertainment. And I'm curious if you can also like speak to why you why you feel it's important that your team reflects like a feminine identified team as well.
For sure. I think that personally for me, almost all of the projects that I've worked on in film, I've been the only like woman identifying person on set, except for actors a lot of the time. And I found that experience really hard as a young woman. And I think that also in Victoria specifically, and people I know, I just know so many, non-binary and women identifying folk that are so talented and who are often overlooked. And still most of the film collectives that I see and I know in town are very like male dominated. And I think that it would just be really important to me if I got this funding and this opportunity to try and use it as much as I can to amplify the voices of the people around me who I think are really deserving of it, and whose voices I think are relevant and would be reflective in the film as well. I think the film will just be better and stronger that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I actually had a question about the puppet. Like, can you tell me a little bit about how you want to execute, like, the voice of the puppet? Because the puppet speaks kind of quite a bit. Like, what are you imagining as the voice of the puppet? Do we see the puppet? What does the puppet look like? The kind of stuff. Because you described the personality traits, so I get a sense of it, but I want to hear more about it.
So my idea, obviously I'm really open and excited for collaboration with my potential directors and designers about it. But I'm hoping that it would be a puppet that we see her use in her children's puppetry at the beginning. So it'll be sort of this weird thing where initially we see it where she's doing the voice, like you saw with me, you can really tell. And then later when it's just her and the puppet alone, we see that the puppet's talking and it's not her voice. So I think it would be a little bit Muppet style where you don't see the puppeteer. They're probably doing live vocals, but maybe they'd be dubbed over. We see how that would work and how that would sound. But yeah, you wouldn't see anyone who is maneuvering the puppet during it. And I want it to look like a classic kid's puppet.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. So right on time there. Thank you all. Thank you, Sophie. And so that's it for the pitches. So everybody, just a big thanks to our top 5 for all the hard work. This is, I know this can be slightly gut-wrenching experience. So thank you all for all the work you put into your pitches. And David is bringing everybody back up. A huge thanks to our jury, and I don't think any of us envy you the decision you have to make later on tonight. And we want to remind everybody who's listening in to keep your eye on to Cinevic's social media tomorrow for the announcement. And I hope that it will work out that whoever wins the pitch competition will join me for a taping of Film Friday tomorrow. If not, that's fine, but I just hope that we can get a little more in depth with whoever wins the pitch tomorrow. So let me see. We're hoping that our viewers who are on YouTube don't leave us quite yet, because now we've got time for a short presentation of the Short Circuit Pacific Rim Festival Awards Reel. And before we go on, I just want to say how interesting it has been to watch the growth of this film festival. And interestingly, as the festival has grown, the caliber of films that we get to watch seems to notch up every single year. And the selections this year, and I'm only halfway through the viewing. We've only got 12 days left, but I have been blown away by the storylines, the production values. I just think the offerings through this year's Pacific Rim Short Film Festival have been mind-blowing. So reminder, 12 days left. If you haven't been watching, you don't have your ticket yet, please do yourself a favor. And now, David, I think we're going to cut to the awards reel. Now, the only award that will not be revealed tonight is the Audience Choice Award, because we still want people to watch films before they make a decision. So an Audience Choice survey to pick out a winner is going to be sent to ticket holders very soon. All right, David, let's roll the awards reel.
Now it's time for a breakdown.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
Leave. Don't come back again.
being a dancer and wanting to dance all the time, I have to dance on the train. But if it was my choice, then I wouldn't dance on the train. Like, I would be on tour, or I would be overseas doing shows. But BART and being on the train is an outlet, and it's a platform to show what you can do to other people.
Annie, get the bottle.
Oh! Wee!
Ich muss wirklich aufhören. Ich habe hier so ein Schädlingsproblem.
Ein Schädlingsproblem, ne? Mama, alles ist in Ordnung. Dir wird nichts passieren.
Sag Clara und den Kindern Hallo von mir.
Sie würden sich wirklich freuen, dich kennenzulernen. Mama? Mama, hallo.
Mach's gut, Theo.
I am totally in love with this island. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I was actually off island. Totally different lifestyle.
Wow. Now, if that, for those of you that maybe have not seen the films yet, I bet that seeing that little reel has got to get you in there. Just absolutely outstanding. Congratulations to all the award winners. And a reminder that the award for Outstanding BC Film receives $2,500 of in-kind equipment rentals from William F. White. So thank you, William F. White, and congratulations to the filmmaker. That was a beautiful film. So I want to thank all of our viewers for tuning in. Thank you again to our jury, to our top 5 pitchers for all your hard work. And remember, stay tuned tomorrow to Cinevic's social media to learn who the announcement of the CineSpark winner is tomorrow. And with that, thank you for joining us and have a good night.